I don't think so. You never tell with StreamYard. Now we're live. I'm not, but we are. So we'll go with that. Hello, it's Friday afternoon here in the East Coast. Noon to be exact. And of course, it's Friday. It's noon. You know what that means. It's Small Biz Breakdown time. And I'm enjoying a rather nice weather day here in Atlanta. So I'm assuming that we're going to have a really nice discussion. I don't know how that actually ties together, but I'm going to be an optimist and say good weather, good conversation. And when I always go to start these things, I start all the way across the country. Oregon, Leland.
Good morning, Brent. As it is still 9 o'clock over here, and it's still morning.
Is it a good morning?
It is a good morning. Went to a track meet yesterday for one of my kids, and he shaved 40 seconds off of his 1500.
That's a good one. That qualifies as good.
It's good.
We're going to press our luck here and see if it's good in New Jersey, New York, where Ramon Ray is standing by.
Well, what's up, Brent Leary?
How's it in that part of the country?
It's amazing. McDonald's opened up well. Denny's opened up well. Our malls opened up well. It's just great. It's just the tolls are working perfectly. Gas stations are great. It's a beautiful day.
Did you get that grand slam from Denny's? Or are they still
not yet, but that's pending.
All right. Well, pending.
That is pending.
Well, while you pinned away, we will see what's going on in our nation's capital, where Shashi is here with us. Wait a minute. Shashi, where are you? There he is. Hey, Shashi.
Hey, everybody. Good to see Ramon in such good spirits. It's a wonderful morning from Washington, D.C. after New Jersey sent us a lot of smoke yesterday.
Yes. And I think they arrested one or two teenagers or something like that for that, I believe.
That's really crazy. But nice weather. Looking forward to the conversation here.
And me and Leland will not take offense at you not saying how nice it is to see us happy too, but we'll just keep moving on. We'll keep moving on because we have the bold one. Some call him the cold one. He is John Cold Rice Lawson.
Yay!
Hey.
He made it.
Yeah, you were actually early today, which is
I know. I don't have any lights on, but let me turn those.
Well, you never have lights on.
There we go. I'm here.
We're used to you being in the dark, so that's.
I'll be in the dark.
Brent, can I tell you why I was late, Brent? Can I just tell you that before we start?
Well, you weren't late, but go ahead.
But I was last. I was watching Godfather of Harlem, which is such an amazing. It's all about crime, as you all know, but just amazing, the ins and outs, the deals, the money, the hatred. It's very interesting. How advancements go. So,
Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah,
I can't imagine Ramon doing something other than helping small businesses.
Shashi, I would be a deputy to Bumpy Johnson. I would be a great chef de cabinet to Bumpy Johnson. It would be amazing. I'd be the guy behind the scenes. People didn't show up. They'd say, find Ramon.
I'm just wondering how much money is Ramon paying Shashi for all this stuff here. I'm trying to figure that out. Maybe we'll find out by the end of this show here. Anyway. Let's also say a shout out to Evana Taylor, who usually joins us but is not able to join us this Friday. We hope she'll be back soon. So just want to say that. All right. So every week, I don't know, for the past couple of months at least, I've asked same question of you guys every damn week. How are things going? How are you guys feeling about things? But before I ask that question, I do have some visual aids. Wow, what was that? So is Siri gonna help me out here? All right, so Siri did come on, get out of here, Siri. What the hell? Didn't even say anything remotely close to that, but anyway, that's why Apple's AI is in trouble. All right, moving on. So just a scan of the things, the sites, the news sites. And I saw some really interesting things before I ask you guys how you're feeling. Maybe this will help you kind of formulate some of that stuff. All right. So I was looking at CNBC. So this is the CNBC. This was on the homepage of CNBC.com today. Amazon sellers raise prices after Trump's China tariff. Trade wars, wave of retail shortages will hit U.S. consumers in stages. Companies from Chipotle to Delta, two companies that I really like a lot. I eat a lot of Chipotle and I fly a lot on Delta. Are worried about Trump's tariffs. Here's what they're saying. Well, we're not going to hear that. I just learned the headline. All right, so that's first part. Oh, wait, I'm going backwards here. Now, let's get into some numbers. This is from Fox News. Hardly the bastion of, Democrat-isms and things like that. They just came out with a new poll. I think it was fielded this week. No, that wasn't me. And I just want to pay attention to the one at the bottom. How are people feeling about the economy right now? And it's kind of small, so let me blow it up for you. There it is. It's a little bigger there. 56% disapprove, 38% approve. Now, this is coming right from Fox. This isn't from, other places. So let's dig in a little bit more. Coming right from Fox. Inflation is the top concern to voters. 82% say extremely very concerned. The highest number on the board there. Well, you see other stuff, but I'm just going to concentrate on the things like inflation and an economy entering a recession, which 72% are kind of saying, yeah, extremely very concerned about that happening. I'm just going to stay. Oh, the China trade war is escalating to war. Wow, China trade war escalating to war. People are concerned that this could turn into an actual war. 66%. That's a pretty stunning number, if you ask me. Digging in a little bit more. This is also from Fox. Voters think tariffs hurt economy. 55% say it hurts. 32% say it helps. That's a pretty big number. Does it hurt jobs? 44% say it hurts jobs. 36% say it helps. Not as big a difference, but still more people say hurt than help. Makes products more or less expensive. 72% more expensive. Only 7% say less. That's a 10x difference. Okay, am I ready to ask you guys a question yet? No.
Gosh, what's the question?
Well, you know the question, but before I answer or ask you the question of how you guys feeling, I found this really interesting clip from this world-renowned economist at a think tank conference talking about what the tariffs talk has done and why it may have lasting impact beyond yes or no, good or bad.
Bloomberg, the news agency, these are its headlines in the morning and the afternoon of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday morning, this is madness. In the afternoon, a clown show. On Wednesday, stocks keep falling. In the afternoon, could have been worse. Thursday morning, assessing the damage. Thursday afternoon, Trump blinks.
The particular tariff rates that Trump announced last week that led to that financial bloodbath are not going to come back. We'll never hear those numbers again. Where did those numbers come from? Something, again, so stupid you can't believe that any country would do this. But the idea is the following, is that you should run a trade balance with everybody, not an overall trade balance, but a trade balance with everybody. So you should sell a little bit, you should work a little bit for your shoe store, you should work a little bit for your grocery store, you should go around anytime you want to shop, you trade something. I'll write you an essay if you'll sell me shoes. And you make your living somehow trying to balance your trade with all of your counterparts. Well, this is insane. This is why we have a market economy. You don't have to have balance with every transaction that you do with somebody. But what Trump said was, Lesotho, they sell us more than we buy from them. So they're cheating us. That's literally what he said. Literally what he said. Okay, is it completely delusional or rhetoric? It's delusional.
All right. So that was all coming from like the financial folks and from Fox News, which are definitely not left leaning, shall we say. So, with all that, I ask, as I do every week, how you feeling about where we are right now with the economy from a small business perspective?
Hey, Brent, let me add it. Can I also comment on this poll and all these numbers? Can I comment on that too, Brent?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can comment on anything you want.
Yes. Let me just add a bit of clarity and help to the panel here as I do. You're the host, Brent. My job here is to provide clarity and truth to what we're talking about. Two things. One, I think the last commentator, I do think it's rhetoric, not delusional. Those who caught that clip, I do think it's rhetoric. I don't think it's delusional. Lesotho, Trump just talks, his advisors know it's contextual. Lesotho's never going to buy as much from us as we take from them. It's impossible. We're a much bigger country. Number two, I think this is the first president we've had that doesn't care about his party. And so assuming that he believes in the American economy, assuming we believe, that's a big assume, that's a whole economic thing I won't touch on, but assuming he genuinely believes this will be best for the country over the next 4 years, he is going all in, regardless of hurting the party brand, and doing it that's the only thing it has to be. He doesn't care about his own reelection, doesn't care about the senator in Georgia, doesn't care about the blah, 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 blah. Maybe he cares a little bit, but I think he cares more in his own right about we need to have the American economy good. I'm the president. I'm going to rip and do everything I can with the next 3.5, whatever it is of power I have. So that's my 2 cents on that. I think he's doing things that are not politically wise, but what he believes is very good for the country.
Who else wants to jump in? Share their thoughts.
The quietness, Brent, I'll just say is because usually when I speak, Brent, as you know, it's hard for others to catch up, Brent. This is what we're experiencing right now. It's hard.
It is hard. All right, I'm going to call people out. Shashi.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing mostly in people is uncertainty, right? They would much rather have like, okay, guys, here's the decision, good or bad, prepare for it. But when it keeps changing every time, that's a big problem. And I was speaking about this to a few people a couple of days ago. Is usually in democracy, you have to take people along with you to make decisions. Slow process doesn't always work the way we want it. But the opposite side of it could be a little bit more dangerous, right? Even though both these sides may actually feel like they are in the right path to do things. And also like the example of countries and tariffs, right? Like, I think you have to build experts in your team, which I think there are a few in the team, and make sure you're prepared to tell the public like what exactly is going to happen. That's probably not there in the communication, the way this is being communicated. So 3 things: uncertainty. Number 2 is prepare well. Number 3 is more united front, the better people will accept pain.
Mr. Ice.
Not as good as Ramon, but made an effort.
Yeah.
That's all right, Shashi. Good enough.
Yeah, that check just got a little bit more, heavier. All right, Mr. Ice.
I'm not an expert on global economies. I'm not an expert on the Dow Jones. All I do know is that people are concerned. There are some bankruptcies that are in the pike and on the table with small business owners that we're going to probably see come to fruition very soon. And of course, when small business hurts, the country hurts. And I don't see a great path for SMBs with these tariffs. Not the way it's going. I mean, even if we back it down, let's say he goes from 150% on China down to 100%, it's still not going to matter. Those businesses are not going to be able to retain on such small margins their market share. So I don't feel very confident that even if there was a quick U-turn, that it would be enough to avoid a lot of damage to just the general economy.
Okay, Leland.
I think that one of the things that's come out about this is that we do need to get away from China, and that it is important. Because one of those survey questions was, well, what would happen if we were to get into a war with China? If we get into a war with China, what we're seeing now would happen, but even worse, because we're getting nothing from China. China would probably just cut us off because we're at war with them. All the pharmaceuticals, every piece of technology that comes out, all of the auto parts, everything, it would screw us even further. And I think that what Trump is doing is he's looking for ways to diversify our ways of actually producing. And I would be all for that. Is, let's find other countries that are willing to actually trade with us fairly and equally. We do have huge trade deficits, and that is money that is lost out of the economy. China, over the last 20 years, has become immensely wealthy off of the backs of us and other countries coming to them for what is essentially slave labor, and really bad environmental policies, so they can make cheap, low quality stuff, bring it over here. They get rich. They off of the backs of slave labor, off of the backs of pollution, and we're okay with that. But being able to work with countries that are maybe not going to use slave labor, not going to pollute highly, that would be more beneficial. And to be able to have kind of more equal trade partners. Now, if you're coming to the table and saying, okay, come on, China, we need to talk. Let's talk about trade. China has the best deal that they're going to have right now. If you come to China and say, hey, let's talk about trade, they're not going to want to do that. They're going to hold it off as much as possible because they got the good deal now. Anything more is going to be a bad deal. This forces China to get into a position in which it's like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's actually get you away from slave labor. Let's actually make you do better practices when it comes to actually producing, environmentally safe stuff. And from what we're hearing from Trump, not necessarily from China, they are in talks. China's saying we're not in talks. So you got to figure out who to believe in that. But hopefully we do actually see some fruits from that labor, and we are able to actually see some talks between them, and we're able to get a good deal. And maybe it isn't 100%. Maybe we get down to the 30 or the 20 or something like that. Or maybe it's just on certain markets so that we're able to protect auto industry or chip manufacturing or something like that. But I think that it will actually happen. China can only go so long before they will actually come to the table to talk fully.
Who do you think is in the best position, us or China, right now, as it comes to the financial standoff?
My guess, Brand, again, like John said, I'm not, expert in this. None of us are like that. But if I had to guess, Brand, I think it's equal in some way. China makes the stuff, just from a layperson's, makes all the stuff, and historically, but it got to go somewhere. I mean, think of all of our Amazon shipments and all that. Of course, the global economy, Europe, but you compare to the U.S., North America, whatever, and Europe, China needs to put that stuff somewhere. So they need us. Sean says China in the vote. So
Yeah,
China, you can leave because you're wrong. I know, Sean. I'm messing with you, Sean. But yeah, I think it's equalish. But I'd be curious what everybody else thinks. Or Brent, what do you think? I'd be curious. I could be wrong, but I think it's equal.
I was like Mr. Laugh there. So what do you?
It's so ick. All of a sudden, we're concerned about slave labor and the environment and all that. This is all the same crap that they didn't care about 5 minutes ago, but now that it's kind of like a talking point, let's put that out there. You know, clean air. There was no clean air discussion prior to this. I mean, so you cannot. We can't.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Man.
But I mean, that's two of the major talking points of the left is environment. That's like number one, and human rights is number two. And then yet they're like, oh, but let's leave China alone. They are the
But
number
I mean,
one
wait.
polluters.
Now, who says let's leave China alone?
The Democratic
here's
Party.
the thing.
They're the ones that are saying, hey, let's, these tariffs are bad. Let's not negotiate all of this stuff.
That's not okay. Maybe that's what you're hearing, but that's not what most people are saying. I don't have any disagreement with you about the dependence on China and, all the products that we get. I have no disagreement about that. There is a imbalance. I agree. There is some concern. Absolutely. We're just talking about the method that's being used and this sort of rip the Band-Aid off kind of approach without, worrying about the bleeding, without worrying about, infection, any of these kind of things. That's the biggest problem I have. It's not the desire, it is the method.
But John, can I clarify
Yeah.
something that Leland said? Again, Leland, you can speak for yourself, but again, as my role here to come between Leland and John and help facilitate things is that my point, John, is that Leland's point, I don't think he was saying we care about it initially, but I guess he was saying we're going against China. They had an unfair advantage because they don't give metaphorically a darn about pollution using slave labor. So it seems like he's saying one party should be happy that great. Now we'll be righting some wrongs as a secondary benefit of President Trump's wisdom. I think that's what Leland was. Maybe am I right, Leland? That kind of where you were going a little bit, or not really?
Yeah, I mean that is a benefit. I mean, I love the idea that it's like, oh, maybe we can actually utilize this as a means to possibly make things a little bit better. And yes, while the Republican Party is not all in as far as the left is, they don't want to the Republican Party is the party of conservation. They're the ones that are making the hunting license to make sure that conservation efforts are in place. There are elements within the Republican Party that are environmentally safely. They don't want to swim in a dirty creek, but they don't want to go so far down the rabbit hole that it is detrimental to the average person.
Look, I live in a Republican state, and I'm pretty moderate when it comes to a lot of things, but this scenario we're in right now, I just can't get behind. I just don't think this was the best thing. But one of the things that you put up there that I thought was interesting, and you did kind of mention it, was about this turning into a full-fledged war, and that's a possibility, because all wars, in my opinion, are trade wars. All wars are trade wars.
Great.
That's his accent. I heard that, Joshua. What's up, Joshua?
I didn't see it.
Good old Josh.
Man,
Yes, he did say crit.
Yeah, growing up, we had a crick just down the street.
Correct.
I went, summer every day, went down and caught crawdads for fun.
Wow.
That's right.
But you got to have the accent, Lee, and I think that's what's throwing us all off. You're not saying, when I was a young boy, we went in the creek. You sound like a regular Northerner, and you're not with the accent. So you gotta, that's what's throwing, I think, us off there.
Josh is like, he's saying, hey, you represent him, man. That's
Jesus.
Those are the words.
Yeah.
So what do like small businesses fit into this tug of war between China and the US? Because as we've said a couple of times, a lot of small businesses wouldn't even be in business if they weren't able to source stuff right from China. Mm-hmm. So do they become sacrificed in this war?
No,
what-
according to them, we're the enemy.
Who's
We've
the
made
enemy?
the trade in with small business. We've made the trade
Oh.
imbalance with China. Evidently, we're the enemy, and that's what they're fighting against.
Is that what you think small businesses are feeling like?
No, but I'm just saying that all the arguments that they bring out about the trade imbalance, if we're utilizing that to fund our businesses and grow our businesses, then we're part of that equation.
I don't know, John. I hear you, but because you're taking advantage of things that are legal, I get the sentiment you're saying, but that's like saying billionaires who don't pay tax, again, all this metaphorically, not getting the details here, that they're wrong. No, that law was set up that way. They found the loophole to buy $10 billion of paintings and not pay taxes. Good for them. You know what I'm saying?
But if I change the tax laws, then billionaires start saying, "Why are you against us? Why do you hate billionaires?" Right? So I'm going to say, us as small business, my question is, why do they hate our business?
Well, President Trump, of course, is, again, not Leland's the official spokesman for President Trump here. I'm just trying to be the spokesman for Leland.
I'm just throwing it out there.
But I'm saying, Trump is doing it for overall America to get better. So you're right. Brent asked a great question. This is the small business breakdown. What about small businesses?
Yes.
So we will be hurt. But I think the overall thing in President Trump's mind is, which only his press secretary, what's her name? God bless her heart.
Caroline Leavitt.
Her press conferences are comedic, in my opinion. But anyways.
She'd be spanking them. It's hilarious.
Oh, Brent, sorry, Brent, John, I was on TikTok and I saw the perfect greeting card for you, man.
What's that?
I just sent it to you. I just took a fold-up card with President Trump singing "Happy Birthday" to you. I gotta send it to you, John, on your birthday, man.
Well, at least you got warnings for it.
So my thought is, okay, China for the last 20 years has really kind of ramped up their production, and small businesses has actually started to rely on it. But what happened in the 90s? I mean, small businesses were getting their stuff somewhere.
Well, back in the 90s, wasn't there still a manufacturing?
Yeah, bro. It's if you go down the street, probably somewhere in your hood, it's a red brick building with a big chimney on top, and all the windows are boarded up. That's where we used to get it. There is no factories anymore. It's not like I can just turn around and say, "Hey, let's just make this from American people." Even if the American people do make it, with all of us trying to get it from them, it's a supply and demand issue. So that's going to raise the prices. Even if we all went American for everything, there's just no, go through your towns and areas in the Midwest. Those places are gone. They're gone. And none of those workers are, do you really think, every week, guys, we sit here and have to listen to Brent diss on Gen Z because all of them want to be influencers. You think they're going to work in your factory? No, they're not. Where's this coming from? I don't understand. Who are these people? Who are these people that are going to sit around and eat lunch at the factory where they fold sheets all day and put them in plastic bags?
Well, you know who
what
President
American
Trump
does this?
But you know who said President Trump was going to be there, John. I don't even want to say it, but you know who he said is going to be there. He said these are taking black jobs.
Yes, these are black jobs. These are black jobs.
Sorry,
it's funny, but the whole time I'm listening to this slave labor connotation, I'm just thinking like, wow, really?
Slave labor, John. So he was talking about slave labor in China, which is
I know. I'm saying like we're gonna bring it here again.
All right, let me jump in just for a second. First of all, I don't call it dissing. I just call it facts. That's what it is.
You be dissing.
These folks do not want to be going into no coal mine or a manufacturing plant. They'd rather sit in their comfortable, bedrooms and do this and maybe not make as much money, but they're sitting and chilling and they
are not going to no factory.
They're not. So, but let's go. I like this comment here from Sean. America is the home of consumption, not manufacturing.
Correct.
So who's
Now-
who's at fault? Is it just the U.S. consumer? Because when given the choice between high-priced American-made stuff and low-priced Chinese-made stuff, where did nobody put a gun to our head and said,
That's right.
we got to go to China or we got to stay. We've made our choice, and
It's a
because
perfect
we made our
equilibrium.
choice, the whole ecosystem and supply chain set up over those last 3 decades. I don't see how you destroy that and make people want to buy higher priced goods when they know that lower priced goods are out there.
I agree, Brent, but I think it's a perfect
I-
equilibrium in that case. Go ahead, Shashi. Please go ahead.
I have a few stories to say after listening to this conversation, right? I don't think it's about politics. Like ultimately it's going to, no matter which party or political belief everything is going to affect you, right? Now, I've been through 2 economies that were totally closed, albeit for a very short while in the Soviet Union, and when India for almost half my life when it was closed. There will be a lot of restrictive ways to do business and be self-sufficient, but ultimately there'll always be something that you don't have, that other countries have, that you need to import. And if you don't open it up both ways, you're not going to prosper. I mean, if you look at the economy in 1990, I think there was a crash versus now,
There's a
right?
recession. Yeah.
The economy really expanded a lot. And the fruit of that economy is because we are able to get things cheaper that we don't need to make ourselves and focus on innovation that we can export out of the country. So it's not about just physical goods alone.
Right.
And I was reading about 2 stories. Number one was all the washer dryer manufacturers went to the government and said, like, look, there are cheap stuff coming from Korea and Japan probably, and you need to support American manufacturers. Great. Samsung set up an office, LG set up a factory here. The price of all the American washer dryers remained the same. What we were exporting from outside went up to, so now we are all paying probably much more than what we would be paying if we could import it from there. Nike tried to set up a factory here, but they suddenly, after spending a lot of money, they realized that the only way they could make shoes is not design new shoes or design shoes in a certain way that it can be only done by automation, right? There's no way that we are going to have something that, like, let's say if it takes 1,000 people to build something outside in another country, we are not going to get 1,000 people to do the same job here. The unemployment rate shows that to us, right? Like, for example, if there is 0 unemployment, then we can assume that nobody picks and chooses a job. They just do whatever is there. 0 unemployment might happen if this tariff keeps continuing. All of us are going to be affected, and we may be desperate to do any kind of job possible. But that's not the way we want the country to be, right?
No.
So while the motive was very good, the way it was implemented, I think, could have been much better. There could be a timeline, right? And there could be like very specific. I mean, I think suddenly one day the whole world had tariffs. Maybe a good negotiation tactic to tell them, like, hey, let's exchange some notes on that, which I think could be done in a good way too, because we have a lot of power.
Yeah.
Right.
But let's go here though. I said we like getting stuff from China because it's cheap. And then you said something, Nike manufactures a lot of their stuff there, but Jordans ain't cheap because it's a brand. It's a brand that people are willing to pay for regardless of where it's made. Nike is just maximizing their profit margin by keeping it manufactured over there and then shipping it over. But let's talk about the current, since John kind of went there a little bit about Gen Z. And Gen Z is really interesting because of the options, not that they don't have, but what they do have and the way that they decide to do things. They could, because I have a nephew who does this, they can try to become an actor and do what they want to do and hope that they're able to make a living off of that. But in the meantime, he's doing DoorDash and he's doing other like gig jobs. And so even though the manufacturing, there are several openings of manufacturing jobs that just aren't going filled, these folks are piecing together, and of course the content creators, they're piecing together the things that they much rather do, even if it doesn't make them as much money as a manufacturing job. And the only way for manufacturing jobs to become attractive is you're going to have to pay them a hell of a lot more money, even though they might not be making that much money doing what they want to do. And so that's kind of going to defeat the purpose. You're going to have to try to entice a whole bunch of people, which means you're going to have to pay them a whole bunch of money, which means, people are still going to have to pay for a lot of stuff that they just don't want to pay for right now. I think and then old school manufacturing, I don't think it'll ever come back because automation and robots are going to take a lot of this stuff up too. So are we trying to fight the battle of the 19th or the 20th century when we're moving so fast and quick into the 21st century?
I do think
it just feels a little odd that it almost feels like we're trying to fight time.
Mm-hmm. Leland, you go ahead. Go first. I'll go after you, Leland. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I imagine that if we had manufacturing coming back in, a lot of it is going to be the automated stuff. And yeah, it's going to probably cost a little bit more because it's cheaper to have someone you pay $1 a day over in China to make it than it is to build a robot that actually builds the machine. But you're going to have people in the factories that are going to be maintaining them, and those are going to be a bit higher paid job because there's more technical skill involved. And it's at that point okay to be able to pay someone a little bit more because their job is to do a machine that does the job of 10 people. So you can pay them $30, $40, $50 an hour because they have technical skills.
I'm sorry, I saw this. I had to laugh. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Leland. That just caught my attention.
I'm sorry, Leland. Break. Go ahead.
But yeah,
I would like an answer. I would like an answer, Brent. I would like an answer from the audience. Go ahead, Leland.
But we do see. I see it in the area that I live in. My brother-in-law, he works for the railroad. He makes good money because he drives train. All he does is drives train. No college degree or anything like that. 3 months of training. And he was saying that it's kind of hard to get the young people because they want that life. But it's an on-call job. So you can make 90 grand driving trains on call. You're doing 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week, 90 grand a year, driving trains. All you're doing is driving a train, making sure that it doesn't crash. But these young people, they don't want it because they want to go out partying on a Friday night because someone called in and they're on the board. They got to go in and they're like, I don't want the 90 grand, but give them another 5 years. All of a sudden they got a girl, they get married and they want to settle down and they're not going out and partying. That 90 grand job all of a sudden becomes very enticing. And these people, they go clamoring for these jobs. And unfortunately they're full at that point. Or they've burned bridges with other companies and they're not able to get the job. But I think that Gen Z will hit a point where they're like, okay, Grubhub or DoorDash ain't paying enough. I'm not getting this acting gig. I've got to settle down and I got to actually pay the bills and get the kids fed and stuff like that. And so it'll hit.
Two things I think, Leland, to what you're saying, I think is that, like we talk about small business, and I say sometimes we have to segment it. I do think this is one of those times also we need to segment Gen Z. I just did a quick, Google search. I think it's 13 to 28. I could be off, but it's youngins, right? So I do think, Leland, to your point, I think that it depends on who it is, where they're at, who their parents are, who their family is, how they were brought up. I look at my 2 adult children as a metaphorical example of this. I have my son. He's never gone to a gleaming tower working a cubicle ever. Now, when I mean ever, meaning not today. That's just not in his thing. He's the world of most of us here. Get a computer, get your skills, sales, make it happen, make some money. He's doing pretty good. Now, my daughter, She makes a couple $100 a month chewing ice ASMR on TikTok. Listen to me, a couple $100 a month. So that's just, if that's helpful, then what you're saying is that at some point, will they want an adult job or different job or real job? Sure. My son already have an adult job, but my point being, I think we need to segment it. And you're right. Some of the Gen Zers, they want it pretty easy, but some of the Gen Zers, especially as they get older, they're like, great, making 100,000 a year, whatever, doing what's the guy, Mike Rowe, dirty jobs type of thing. There's a whole economy for that. And then Sridhar, Zoho's founder, he's all about no college degree and do what you need to do. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I put this up there because I just so happen to have it in the deck. And it's kind of interesting, as much as we talk about Gen Zers not wanting to do manufacturing jobs, that still doesn't apparently affect their outlook for the future from a personal finance perspective. Because I think a lot of them, at least at this particular time, although I don't know if I would be happy given the current situation, I think they're happy because they are finding ways to make a little money doing things that they really and having time to do the things that they really. I mean, it sounds like your daughter is kind of one of those folks. They're not making a killing. They probably could make more money doing something else, but they find a way to do what they like and be pretty happy about it. That's find that Gen Z, because look, 30 years ago, if YouTube was around and you were able to, make a little money doing some videos or doing, some other kind of thing, or driving around delivering stuff and making your own schedule and you're, being able to do it on your terms, I think I'd be pretty happy. So yeah, I think we're fighting, we're having to fight a different kind of, or with our past experiences and how we came up, we just can't kind of relate in a lot of ways to what these folks, Gen Z folks, are doing, because we didn't have those options. Now we had other things, but we didn't have that.
Hold on. Here's a point that's right. Like Fortune magazine did this number, right? Gen Zers get an average of $1,813 a month from their parents. Of course you're feeling good about the economy. You're not working in the shit.
From their parents.
Exactly.
I had the wrong parents, apparently.
Exactly. That's the difference. This is where we grew up. You wasn't getting $1,800 a month as a grown up to live. But on average, Gen Zs are receiving financial support from their parents.
Is that because a lot of them are living at home again? Like they get through college, and usually, like back in the day, you would get to college, you get a job, and then you get your own place. A lot of these folks ain't getting their own place, so I'm guessing some of that support is based on them living at home, right? It's not like cold hard cash.
I'm just saying, hey, we as the parents are doing things that we weren't that weren't being done for us back in the day.
Yo,
so
Brenton,
I can see why they're happy.
I just want to shout out my man Josh Johnson, an amazing human, entertainer, tap dancer, event host, been on the Ellen DeGeneres show, Red Carpets. Josh Johnson, I see you, brother. I love you. He's just good people. So shout Josh Johnson out. And while I'm at it, Sean Givens, a mutual friend of me and John Lawson's, just an amazing tech entrepreneur and other things as well. So thanks, Josh Johnson, for being here. I see you and I love you, brother. Go ahead.
Is that a TSP connection again?
Sean, yes. Sean is.
Okay, cool. All right. And he says peace.
Yeah, Josh is good people.
Even tooth fairies have been affected by inflation. Damn. Really, Shashi? What's the going rate for a tooth now?
$10.
I give my kids $5 when they listen to it.
Damn, $5. I think I got like
$1 a tooth,
a quarter or something.
Quarter. Well, that's about to say you got a wooden nickel. Old as you is.
I got nothing. I got a bloody mouth.
Damn. Okay. All right, man. This is I like asking this question every week because, like that dude said in the video clip, things change from one day to the next so violently and dramatically. I'm always interested in seeing how that affects the way you guys view, every week. So that's why I will continue to ask that. And let's see what Jay Thomas. Lawnmower parents are those who aggressively remove obstacles and challenges from their children's lives, aiming to protect them from pain, disappointment, and failure. I had never heard that before. Lawnmower.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
That was a good
From
comment.
helicopters to lawnmowers.
Interesting.
I wonder why it's called lawnmowers.
Cutting the grass, removing obstacles.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Shoot, every Friday
That's
or
what I used
Saturday.
to do. That's what I used to do,
No,
right?
my dad didn't cut grass after a while because he had two
No,
sons,
that's
and we were
right.
the ones cutting the grass.
Never cutting the grass.
And look at that
That's
comment
how I
from
used to
Sean,
make
yo.
money.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Look at that comment from Sean. Because of Ramon, this is the room of greatness. Wow, amazing. Sean, thank you.
Once again, I don't quite see those words.
Y'all not reading it, Brent? You don't read what I'm saying every week.
God.
I'm trying to read it, man. And
I
you ain't.
know.
Yeah.
All right. I see.
No,
I'm in
but
the room of greatness.
that's they're talking about the room, not you, Ramon.
Oh wow, Shashi, I'm taking all the money back. Refund, Brent. Refund all the money.
Shashi,
Take it
give it
back.
Shashi, give us.
So
and
wait,
Shashi,
let
take
me
it
ask
away.
you. Let me ask you guys these questions. All right. At what age did your child get a job,
No, I can't
and what
answer that.
was it?
My son was he worked in Uniqlo, the retail shop in the mall, and he worked in a local coffee shop. I'd have to say 17. It could have been 16, but whenever legally. So right at the start. And then my daughter, yeah, she's a hustler. She worked at Wawa's, the 7-Eleven, Quick Check, whatever type of thing. When she was young, both of them were hustlers, wanted to make money. And we not pushed them because I want to give credit to them, but we were not those parents who did that. We were like, we were the type of parents after church, Dad, can we go to McDonald's? Absolutely. Honey, I think the hamburger's $7. Becky, our charity, her name is, do you got $3? Oh, I got to spend some money? Yeah. Oh, I don't need it now. Okay, let's go home.
I don't need it.
That's the type of parent I am.
Why don't we ask this question? If things like DoorDash and Uber Eats and content creation was around when we were kids, would our parents let us do that versus cutting the grass? And it would cutting the grass would make you $20, whereas doing let's say cutting the grass get you $50 versus DoorDash and content creation maybe get you 10. Which way would you have gone?
It wasn't an option for me. My
I'm just
dad
saying-
was like,
I'm saying there's the option now. That would be if we had all the options these folks have 30 years ago.
I'd
would
still
we-
be playing Nintendo.
Would you be cutting grass or would you be
All day.
doing
Nintendo all day.
Me,
would
I'd
you be on
probably,
Twitch? Would you be streaming?
I'd be streaming. Yeah, there you go. I'd figure out how to make money streaming. I would. That would be me, for real.
Of course, we're all biased because we are who we are today. So I want to say the content side, but Brent, something about I do like a manual labor. Most people see me only online, but I'm a manual labor guy. I like, working. I mop the floor of my church. I do the youth camp. I like some manual labor stuff. That's just me. People don't see it outside here because they're not with me personally, but I could see shoveling snow, mowing grass, painting houses. I kind of like that.
We did a lot of stuff back then to make some money.
Yes.
Do you think these kids in Gen Z would do that now, given the options
They don't
that they
have to make money. They get it from their parents.
Well, they're
The ones that have to make money, John. The ones that have to. I think they would,
Yeah.
Brent. I think they would.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I got this kid, Brent. He's been on the Newark side of the road in Newark, the hood for years. Part of it is I do think I say this respectfully, has a drug habit, so pray for him. And I'm sorry for that he's like that. But his work ethic in the sun, in the thing with the bottles of water, his name is Naj. He's been out there for years. I give him daps every time I see him, like, dude, you are consistent.
He's a hustler. He's
Yes.
hustling.
Yeah.
Growing up, I did all of the hustles. I did a paper route. I did shoveling snow. I did breaking leaves. We grew up poor, so it's like I didn't get an allowance or anything like that, or I didn't get money for chores or anything like that. So I had to get money other ways, and so that's how I got my money for my Nintendo games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And with my kids, I'm not giving them the option to go out and do they don't do paper routes for kids anymore.
They're all men. Yeah, they're all grown people, men.
Yeah, it really was not a safe job. I'll tell you.
I did it for 6 years and I was a kid. Yeah, I never thought about that. Getting up like at 5 a.m.
Crazy.
and I had to ride my bike in like several different neighborhoods and and it would be dark out there, man.
Hey, child labor, it's coming back.
But Leland, let me ask you a question, Leland. When you were a child, did you do anything by the creek? Did you do anything by the creek?
Oh yeah, I went and got crawdads.
Yeah,
So not
him
the
and
creek.
Opie.
The creek you
Yeah,
couldn't
the
go to, but
creek.
your parents let
Oh,
you go by
that's
the
right.
creek.
It's got to be the creek.
Oh,
No
I
creeks.
mean,
It's
that
a
is,
creek.
yes.
Shashi,
Okay,
what
I
about
mean,
your
that's
childhood?
what they used to call it on Opie's show. It was
Y'all
the creek.
I heard of
We're going
Dawson's
down to the
Creek.
creek.
I didn't hear Dawson's Creek.
No.
Exactly,
it was
Brent.
creek,
Dawson's Creek. There was no Dawson's Creek. Shashi, talk to
New
us. What was
York.
your? What would you?
New
What was
York.
your?
So I'll tell you a story about. I don't know what age I was. Very young, going to school, and at some point, my dad said to me, like, "You need to polish your own shoes," because Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States, and he polished his own shoes.
Damn.
Right. So I remember that till today.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Indian parents they always like their kids to be, maybe other parents too, kids to be like much more comfortable than them. My daughter, I think Ramon met her. She started writing blog posts and doing some helping with events when she was 14. My son, when he was 14, became a library page. He continued for at least 4 years till he went to college. But we wanted them to go. I mean, at least my son, in fact, my wife was saying you should go and work in a McDonald's or somewhere where you get the ability to interact with people and do something. But I think he was more comfortable with books in the library than that. But I think people should work. I think it's a big difference. One thing is, since they are so used to electronics, communication with human beings, I think, is now much more of a problem to them. That's why you'll find many of them are very silent, even in the workplace.
And Shashi, I just want to shout you out, man. I remember seeing your kids. I think I've seen them a few occasions, but it's South by Southwest. I just want to shout you out as a parent, as a father. You know, that meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? It was just so I just, most of us, even on here, we don't know each other too personally, but just that little bit of interaction, seeing your family, I just want to shout you out and honor you. It was beautiful. See you, Sean. Thanks for being here. It was beautiful just to see what you did. So that was good.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna give a compliment to the Gen Z. Stand back, John.
Okay, here we go.
Hold my beer. No, I think we're no better than them. If we had the same options back then that they have now, I think we'd be much more like them than we'd like to think we are.
Probably.
Heck yeah.
Because
Heck yeah.
how can you not be enticed by some dude named Mr. Beast getting 300 million folks to subscribe to him on YouTube and turning that into like an opportunity to do a show on Amazon? First of all, there was no Amazon back then, and there definitely was no Amazon doing content. But here you are, giving him some money and some flexibility to do whatever the hell he wants on a show.
And he started off by just counting. He just counted.
That's right.
On
$1 million
camera.
or something insane?
Yeah, like 100,000 or something.
Yeah,
just a video of that. That's how he started out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then Leland also, I think the beginning days as well, he was, you could see the cheesy, now we see it as cheesy, but giving money to homeless. I think that two things he did at the beginning. I think counting, that was the one I saw. And then just on the corner, hey, here's some bucks.
So how could you not, to a certain extent, aspire to be able to do that when he did that by turning on a camera in his little home?
That's right.
Not cutting no damn grass, And I would think I would be intrigued by that if I was in my late teens, early 20s, because there ain't nothing intriguing about cutting some damn grass or delivering some damn papers.
Do you ever get bit by a dog? Delivering?
Dude, I had a stick with me at all times, And I was pretty good on my bike. I could get on that sucker and roll pretty quickly. But I'm just saying, I think, I do take some shots. I do have to say that because kind of easy to. But I have to also be honest about it. If I had all these options, even if it didn't make me huge amounts of money, but it allowed me to be closer to things that are more interesting or exciting or less mundane. How could a kid not want to think about exploring that over the mundane. I mean, that's what kids do. They want excitement.
Yeah. And also, again, I know the show's almost over, so I don't went in a dark note, but I think also I'll just put it this way to keep the show, but all versions of money, especially for those 18 and under, kids are exploring, even stuff that harms them. There's a whole nother, y'all know what I'm saying, as fathers, a whole nother market there. And I think all of us, so anyways, I'll leave it at that, but it just is a whole nother market. And that's why going to the dangers of social media, you're a young kid, young girl or guy, but especially a lot of girls, you can make some serious money in some dark spaces. So anyways.
The problem comes is when they don't make money, but they went to the dark places. They, because it became a saturated market all of a sudden.
Yeah, good point.
And then from there on out, everything they did is publicly available.
Yep.
It's never going to go away. And so they gambled, they lost, and unfortunately they didn't get much out of it.
Yep.
Wow, we spent the whole time on this one thing. Yeah, that might be a first, or maybe we did it last week. I don't know. I was going to talk a little bit about, or ask you guys a little bit about Google's earnings and what does that mean? They killed it, and their ad revenue is still increasing like 19% year over year.
Yeah, 90 billion.
And everybody's talking about the death of Google because AI is going to eat their lunch. Looks like they're pretty happy right now. It doesn't look like they're going away anytime soon.
Google's eating everyone else's lunch with AI.
I mean, and they've been doing AI for 10 years, right? I think even though Sundar Pichai doesn't get as much credit because of his personality and not being like, the aggressive one, but their AI probably knows what we want to buy tomorrow. So it's easy for them just to connect people to like, hey, you want leads, you want people who actually want to buy, pay us money and you get it. And people are happy. I've been speaking to some of the small business owners spending like ridiculous amounts of money on Google, and I'm asking them why, saying that's our best channel. So I'm not surprised with their results.
Google has at least 8 different applications, or whatever you want to call them, apps that have over 1 billion active monthly users, from Gmail to search to
YouTube.
Sheets to YouTube TV now. So they know about, exactly.
That's the most important one.
So all of that, it's much easier to integrate AI into when you have people like that than it is to try to build your own customer base from scratch, even if your technology might be even better. But and I don't know if it is or not. I'm just saying, when you've already got like people in your hand that visit you every day and every month, integrating AI into that is much more attractive, I would think, than trying to build a whole new customer base from scratch. So that's why I don't think they'll ever go away. And I think it's kind of funny seeing all these people talk about, it's going to be the Google killer. I ain't seen nothing even close to that. So I don't know. Do you think anything could derail Google?
The government.
Yeah, I guess I should have. That was you drove right down the center on that one.
That's the only thing. I mean, besides technology, everything is up for grabs, of course. But I think the top 10, whatever it is, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and not forget Facebook. Netflix. Netflix is not in there, in my opinion. They can be destroyed. They're far ahead, but that's a different thing.
When you think about it, they're only content. When you think about all these other folks,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So between Microsoft, Google, who did I say? What's the other one? Big one?
Well, Facebook.
Yeah, Apple, Facebook. Yeah, Facebook. I think, these companies are okay. The only thing I think that can do them is the government. Beyond that, they're so far ahead with the trillions and trillions of eyeballs. I think they'll be fine. But what's beautiful, what I think? Going back to the small business, there's still room for the little guy, little girl. You don't need gazillions and billions of whatever to make good money. 5 guys in a garage, 2 girls in a garage. You can build a nice $20 million, $50 million, $100 million company.
Hey, that's how they all started.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So I think that gives me hope. Even the stuff I'm building, the little zone of genius, we're chunking along, growing, doing what we can. And it's not easy, but I don't need to be Forbes Business or Business Insider. Be Ramon. And
first of all, we're glad you're not Forbes, because we know that's pay to play. Yes. And their stuff ain't all that great.
Yes. Thank you.
I'm here for you.
I appreciate that.
All right. I didn't mean to go to I love you, man mode, but Final thoughts. I'm going to change this up and ask you, what piece of advice would you give Gen Z as we go through this weird economic climate?
I got something.
Ramon, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I tell the young people, especially in my church, we talk about church a lot, and that's where I interact with young people. Stop doing things like usual. Hey, Ramon, I'm looking for a job. I've applied. Go have a virtual coffee. Go DM some executives, and say, hey, listen, I'd love to interview you about what it means to be this. Build relationships is what I'm trying to say. Don't just, I applied. I'm getting nothing. It's a tough market. Go look through my LinkedIn. DM Shashi. Hey, Shashi, saw you on the Small Business Breakdown. See you talking to Ramon. Would you mind? Mr. Bellamkonda, as it were, like that. Can I spend 20 minutes with you? Shashi's going to say yes. So build relationships and network with people as a young person.
Now, Shashi, since
No, that's excellent advice. I think also, I won't call it building your brand, but just put your thoughts out there. I mean, people have to know like what you stand for.
Yes.
Not necessarily politics, but your deep beliefs in what you want to do. I think is a good thing.
I think it's a good thing that you didn't call it branding. All right, so moving on, Mr. Ice.
I'd say learn a skill, man. I mean, learn how to do something. Spend your time on YouTube. If you can learn how to code with AI, anything with AI right now is in demand, and I think that demand is going to increase over the next couple of years. If you really learn how to wrangle that, I think you will be in a good company.
And Leland.
There are plenty of jobs out there that pay really good money. And yeah, you maybe have to get a skill. You may have to go through a trade skill, or trade school, or you can find companies that will actually teach you as they go. But you can make bank. You're not going to be going out on Friday nights all the time or Saturday nights and hitting the bars, but you're going to be making some pretty good money. Find them, look for them. They're everywhere. Big cities, small rural areas. Just look, get the skills, get the job, keep the job. Don't leave because it's inconvenient. Keep the job and you will build wealth pretty quickly.
Nice. That's pretty much like a mic drop. You were channeling Evena on that one.
Had to.
I'll just say,
respect her.
Yeah. So I'll just say, Gen Z out there, I think the thing you can do most to increase your likelihood for success is to watch John and me at 5:00 today.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Come on, that was a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I mean, you guys said a mouthful, a bunch of mouthfuls. I like, I like what all you guys said. I just think if I were Gen Z today coming out of school, or maybe I wouldn't even be going to school. I don't know, maybe coming out of high school. I do see a lot of possibilities, a lot of potential, but I think you got to go beyond just the stuff you see at the face. Like, yeah, that's great if you're able to get on YouTube and create a channel and get a whole bunch of subscribers, but what does that mean? I mean, you got to think through that. I think a little bit more, go a little deeper than the thing that might initially attract you. But like John said, maybe get into the innards, get into the guts, not just know how to use things. Maybe know exactly how to build it, or keep your opportunities on beyond just being a great user or being a great brand representative. I hardly ever talk about building a brand, but maybe if you build something that will help you, kind of secondarily build a brand. But I think the important thing is knowing how to build something, build stuff, even if it's, AI driven or not. Learn how to build it. Cursor AI is a really cool thing. If you aren't a coder, that will help you actually create your own apps just by using your own voice. Maybe that's a good starting point for really understanding how to build something in the 21st century. But yeah, build. I like that. I also like being able to say, come back next week. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. We will be here. Will you?
Thank you, Brent. Good
Why?
job.
Sounded like some kind of weird guy right there. Anyway, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.